Hey guys, what's up? It's 2 weeks till my finals, and the best way to prepare is to do a commentary. Got a game of Hardpoint on Standoff with the Diamond AN94 and going 54-9. Incidentally, this commentary is going to be a tribute to one of my former favorite game series, the Crash Bandicoot series. Now let's face it, if you grew up playing video games, there has to be at least one game or series you can call your childhood, and Crash Bandicoot was that series. I started my gaming life with the NES and Super Mario Bros., but SMB was never really the game that defined my childhood, and neither was Pokemon when my dad bought a Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue for one of my sisters one day. No, it would be the time my dad brought home a PlayStation 1 from his workplace, coupled with a bunch of games, and Crash Bandicoot being one of those games that would end up defining my childhood. It would be the reason why I'm a Sony loyalist today, despite the fact that I got a PS3 right after the Wii. I started the Crash series with Crash Bandicoot Warped, and my dad had 2 discs of Warped along with Crash Bandicoot 2. I actually was a bit afraid back then to try and play games on my own, so my sister did heavy duty and played through the game while I watched her. She never finished the game, and it took a few years afterwards before I ended up being confident enough to play the game by myself and finishing it entirely. We did end up switching between Crash 2 and Crash 3 though, so that's another reason why we never finished Crash 3. Plus, I ended up doing double duty and taking care of Crash 2. I remember this one incident where my sister completed 4 of the 5 levels needed before facing the next boss, and before completing the 5th level, I played one of the motorcycle levels that contained a secret to entering a bonus level that I was not aware of beforehand, and I ended up freezing the game, and she never saved the game before that happened, so I wiped out her progress and unintentionally made her redo everything. That really bit into her resolve to complete the game. She did eventually beat the main game, but she never got all the secrets and extra items afterwards. That's where me, a few years later, came into the picture and finally completed the game in its entirety. Now, at some point, my other sister borrowed Crash Team Racing from a friend, and I was hooked onto that game. I played it so much and got the game later on as a Christmas present, and it also brought my attention to other kart racing games. I also got the first Crash Bandicoot game along with Crash Team Racing, but I could never get into it since it felt outdated compared to 2 and 3. And plus, my PS1 failed to properly load Crash 1 at times, so in the end, I never got far enough into the game to begin with. During my time with the Crash series, I never really paid attention to who the developers or production studios were. So when I got the next Crash game, Crash Bash, I was ignorant to the fact that Naughty Dog wasn't responsible for this game. But I did enjoy this game quite a bit. Sadly to say, after Crash Bash, I was disconnected with the Crash series, and seeing what happened in Crash over the past couple of years has made me feel guilty about not following the Crash series any longer. I did play some of the Crash Game Boy Advance games on an emulator, but they never really caught my attention. In the last 2 years, when my PSP was still cracked before I updated my firmware to play Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, I actually downloaded and installed Crash 3 and had some good times again. I finally managed to get 105% in the game, but I sure as hell am not going to try and get all the platinum relics, which are probably next step after getting 105%. Out of all the things that happened throughout my gaming life, I'll hold that accomplishment as the proudest moment I've had. I felt like I did my former favorite gaming series justice in that regard. But apart from Crash, I also had Twisted Metal on a PS1, but that's not for this commentary, as this is supposed to be a Crash tribute. But yeah, I think you guys can tell that out of the PS1 Crash games, Crash Team Racing is my favorite, along with Crash Bandicoot Warped. Crash Bash, I did try going back to it, but I don't think I'll be completing it 200% anytime soon. And Crash Team Racing, even though I love it and I still do, I pretty much lost all my skills for that game, so I actually have trouble doing simple things like power sliding and being able to take even the most basic shortcuts possible, so that's a real bummer. But yep, I think I will actually cut this commentary pretty short. I hope you enjoyed the commentary as well as the Crash Bandicoot series if you grew up with the PlayStation 1, that is. If you're a Nintendo person, of course Mario is probably on your list. But hope you enjoy the gameplay and commentary, and chase out!